What
That's the way to start.
Um, it's pretty much the way it usually starts because I forget to put my phone on silent. But welcome to another episode of Rankum. And this is going to be a fun one because in honor of Spider-Man Far From Home last week, I decided to do a comic book list and you decided you wanted to see us do top 12 acting performances in Marvel movies that are not part of the MCU. And I've been, as I said, I'm including every aspect of Marvel, so Marvel imprints do count as well. Um, so this is going to be a lot of fun, and I've got a great panel. I've got here Doug. Doug, how's it going?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited for this list. I'm excited to see what everybody else has got going on, and seeing what everybody else pulled from. So,
And I've also got with me Caleb. Caleb, how's it going?
Hi, I wasn't even supposed to be here today. But hey, it's gonna be fun. I got my Spider-Verse shirt on. My whole list is actually top 12 performances in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But this is gonna be a great episode.
I've also got the commissioner and champion of Full Metal Geek, Robert Parker. Robert, how's it going?
It's good. I wore the wrong T-shirt. I'm wearing a Star Wars T-shirt, but that's okay. We all wish Caleb wasn't here either. But either way, I'm excited to kind of get going on this list, and I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, I think everyone secretly wishes Star Wars was part of Marvel, but sadly it's not. But also here we've got Zach Ford as best post baby. Zach, how's it going?
Yeah, it's my first show post baby, so that explains the even less effort trying to make my appearance more acceptable. The hair is greasy going everywhere. I think I showered like 3 days ago. I'm not really sure. Everything's a blur. But I'm happy to be here, and it's going to be a rough list, being that mine is the top 12 X-Men performances. So it's going to be fighting against the Spider-Verse.
But how the show works is we do a roundtable discussion. Everyone throws out a acting performance they think deserves to be on this list, and then everyone else votes it on if they decide it deserves in the top 12 or not. And to kick us off, I'm going to go to Doug first. Doug, what's your first pick?
cool. Me first. I'm going with the complete dark horse, like I do every time I'm on Rankum, because I try to get an underdog into the show. And this isn't an underdog in any statement. This is what's considered the comic book grandfather, the thing that actually started off all comic book movies. And I'm going to go ahead and throw out Chris Christopherson as Whistler in Blade 1 and 2. When he left the series went completely down. Wesley Snipes couldn't save it. You needed Whistler in that series because he was the father role. He was your connection. He was your connection into the world. We'll talk about somebody else on the list hopefully later, but his performance, Ryan Reynolds' performance in 3 was terrible, and you couldn't connect with him. But Chris Christopherson in Blade 1 and Blade 2 was easily, by far, 2 of the best performances in the Blade series, if not earlier Marvel comic books movies.
So, Chris Christopherson is on the table. Caleb, what do you say?
Nah, I don't think any of the Blade performances are particularly like anything to put in top 12. Maybe Wesley Snipes, and he's really kind of just playing himself. So I'm gonna say no.
Robert, what do you say about Chris Christopherson?
Yeah, I mean, the Blade trilogy didn't go to shit because Chris Christopherson left. It went to shit because everything in the Blade Trinity is crap. It's not just Chris Christopherson leaving the franchise. I like him. I think he's good in the first 2 Blade movies. I like Whistler as a character. But if we're talking top 12 of all Marvel, I'm with Caleb. I don't think any Blade actor or actress should really be on this list. Wesley Snipes, again, is maybe the only one, but he does not care at all in Blade Trinity. I almost said trilogy. He doesn't care at all in Blade Trinity, and nobody cares at all in Blade Trinity, and that honestly brings every other movie down for me, so it's a no for me.
And so sadly, Chris Christopherson doesn't make the list. Zach, what would you have said about him?
So it's not Chris Christopherson leaving that makes the movie shit. It's that the whole trilogy is shit in the first place. Doesn't matter who was in it. Blade 2 specifically is when we realize that Guillermo del Toro has a serious leather fetish, and it is just like hard and ugly to look at. He's never made an uglier movie, so Chris Christopherson's performance might have been good, but it got smothered behind all the leather squeaking for me that I couldn't focus on it.
Yeah, I've just never seen the Blade movies, so I wouldn't be able to say anything either way. Now, Caleb, who's the first Spider-Verse person you're going to bring up?
I'm actually really shocked that this wasn't the first one brought up. Oh, you said Spider-Verse? Shit. How far down on my list do I have to go for Spider-Verse? But number one for me is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think that is the non-MCU Marvel performance. I mean, for how long he played the role and how great he consistently was from movie to movie to movie, even in that terrible X-Men Origins Wolverine movie, he's probably the best part of that movie. Especially when you get all the way to Logan when they wrap it all up. It's 17 years of a really good performance all the way through. So I think Hugh Jackman deserves to be on this list.
Rob, what do you say about Hugh Jackman?
Yes.
Zach, what do you
There's
say about,
you don't have to say anything more. Yeah, yes. Caleb was right.
Zach, what do you say about Hugh Jackman?
Hugh Jackman, the biggest overrated actor of all time. I'm just joking. It's great, and it owes a lot to we owe a lot to him for really what the superhero genre has become. X-Men kind of gets forgotten as really starting, the movement before the Dark Knight trilogy and taking superhero movies more seriously. And Hugh Jackman's performance of blending in, taking the role really seriously, with just a slight bit of irony and humor involved, but really he's playing it like a true character, and he's the best. So yes.
And with that, Hugh Jackman does make the list. I would have gone, no way will I not give him a yes. I would have definitely given him a yes, because Hugh Jackman is really great as Wolverine. But yeah, Doug, what would you have said about Hugh Jackman?
Absolutely. I mean, he's on my list. It wasn't that he wasn't on my list. Like I said, I like to throw out a dark horse to begin with because I like to get an underdog on the list. Pertaining to Aladdin, King of Thieves. Ha ha ha. Fuck everybody. Hugh Jackman is one of the most iconic actors to date in a comic book role. 8 X-Men films. Hands down, gave the performance of life in pretty much every single one of them. So yeah, it would have been definitely yes.
But Robert, it's up to you. Who's the first one you're going to bring up?
All right, we're gonna dive into the X-Men pool one more time, as I'm sure we will. I'm sure this won't be the last time, but I am actually going to say James McAvoy as Professor X. I am 100% okay with putting both Professor X's on here. This is just the one that I would like to bring up first, because I think, as far as Stewart's Professor X, you get 3 movies that are really called X-Men, but they are definitely Wolverine movies. We really start to get deep into Xavier in X-Men First Class when McAvoy takes over the role. His youth, using his powers to try to pick up chicks in a bar, we see just a real progression of this character from First Class through Days of Future Past when he's dealing with addiction and depression, and then as his character evolves, even up to now, even up to Dark Phoenix, he's still the best part of Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix is a very okay movie, but he's incredible in it. James McAvoy is one of the best actors working today, and he encapsulates a younger, more cocky, less wise version of this character perfectly.
Zach, what do you say about James McAvoy?
What stuck out to me even more so, I think, in Dark Phoenix is how much of a separation it is between McAvoy and Fassbender, between every actor in the movies. They really show that they are, the true actors of the bunch. They just stand out so much. They run over everybody with how great the performances are, and everything else in that movie tends to be a little stale. But also that series of X-Men films with McAvoy relies so heavily on persuasion. They're just they don't even use their superpowers. They're just begging people to change their mind. That's all the drama and conflict of most of Day of Future Past and subsequent movies. That would get really boring if you didn't have a actor with that sold it so well and kept me engaged. And so McAvoy's a faux show, yes.
Yeah, McAvoy is definitely a yes for me. Like he's my favorite portrayal of Professor X. Like nothing against Patrick Stewart. I just think James McAvoy brought more to the role to it and just showed a lot more. But Doug, what would you have said about James McAvoy?
It's a definite yes with James McAvoy. While he isn't my favorite Professor X, he definitely brings a more tainted version of Professor X. Up until you see Patrick Stewart in Logan, of course. But yeah, that's a definite yes for me.
And Caleb, what would you have said about James McAvoy?
We came to you a long time seeking your help, and I'm gonna say what you said to us. That fuck off. That is one of the best delivered lines in all of the X-Men franchise. It's one of my favorites. But McAvoy is my favorite character portrayal throughout all of the X-Men movies. Personally, I think the emotion he gives to Days of Future Past, to the charisma he exudes in First Class, down through even in Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, which aren't that great, he's still really great in them. So yeah, McAvoy's a hell yes.
Zach, it's your turn. Who's your first one you're going to bring up?
So we're just gonna keep it going. I'll throw out Patrick Stewart then. Let's get through all the Professor X's and then all the Magnetos, and then we can move on. But Patrick Stewart, Logan is really where he got to flesh out the emotions of the character, but that doesn't put down performance in the original trilogy, which he doesn't get as much depth to work with. But he really is the anchor that makes it easy for this that series to be taken seriously. Hugh Jackman's kind of the more engaging aspect, but he's just what sells it in its seriousness and its kind of adultness, instead of us treating a superhero movie as a kids movie, which up until then I think it was easy to do. So Patrick Stewart, wish he was my grandpa. It would be really cool. But I love my grandpa, but Patrick Stewart better.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I like Patrick Stewart, I'm going to have to say no to him because for me he's just outside of the top 12. But yeah, Doug, what do you say about Patrick Stewart?
I say that you're a little bit crazy there, Malcolm, because Logan alone is what deserves him to be on this list. To see Professor X going to the extremes of basically hinting that he made the X-Men extinct, and he's living with this. It's Patrick Stewart is by far the embodiment of who Charles Xavier becomes in the comics. So for that, it's got to be a yes.
Caleb, what do you say about Patrick Stewart?
Yeah, it's a hell yeah. Especially if not for just the movie Logan alone, Patrick Stewart deserves to be on this list. Sure, he doesn't do as much as he should as Professor X in the original trilogy because they just didn't give him a lot to do. Patrick Stewart still shines in that role, and then even in Logan, he's one of the better parts of the movie also. So yeah.
And Robert, what would you have said about Patrick? I was about to say Patrick Warburton, but what do you say about Patrick Stewart?
We're not talking about Men in Black 2, but yeah. Yes, Patrick Stewart, absolutely. I think if Caleb wants to talk about lines delivered by Professor X, one of the best ones in the franchise is in Logan when he says that that was the best sleep I've had in a very long time, and I don't deserve it. And he starts weeping, and then he is murdered, and your heart is crushed by his performance in that entire movie, in all of Logan. Like I said, I don't think that Stewart is extremely standout in the first three, but in Logan, he is a perfect representation of that character. So 100% yes.
I mean, if Family Guy ever do a Star Wars style parody of X-Men, then if they don't cast Joe as Professor X, they're doing something wrong. But anyway, it's back to me. I'm gonna go for a non-superhero for my first pick, and I'm going to bring up J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. This is one. J. Jonah Jameson is one of those characters in which you never know if they're ever going to do it right because he's got that distinct personality. J.K. Simmons took the role and just ran with it, and has gotten a lot of memes out of it as well. Like especially the "Bring Me Pictures of Spider-Man" line he always does, and all that. But yeah, J.K. Simmons is on the table. Doug, what do you say?
Did you say me?
No,
Doug.
me. He went to
I don't
me.
know.
So I have my list in front of me, and I'm looking on the Spider-Man section and who I could knock off to put JK on there. And I think there's better performances in Spider-Man. And I gotta go with no for JK. I think he's hilarious, but I don't think he adds a whole lot of gravitas to, a whole lot of gravitas when you look at the greater cast of Spider-Man. So it's a little hard to put him up there. But like I said, I looked at the Spider-Man people that I have, and I just think the Spider-Man people that I have are better at performing the roles.
I think John Roker's possessed Doug, but because he said gravitas a few too many times. But but Caleb, what do you say about J.K. Simmons?
Whatever good kush Doug is smoking, I need some of it because holy hell, J.K. Simmons is not the best at J. Jonah Jameson. That he is so good at that part. He's so good. He elevates that trilogy to a point where it's better than it should be because of his small part that he has. And he's so good in that part that the animated series is across the board throughout the 2000s and 2010s needed the character of J. Jonah Jameson. They got J.K. Simmons because he's so perfect in that part that I can't picture anyone else in that part for the rest of the time. He every time he steps into a scene, he steals it. He brings the anger, he brings the frustration, but he also brings the ultimate sort of antagonistic presence that is needed for the public perception of Spider-Man and elevates that world to the level that it needs to be to work in the Sam Raimi franchise. This is a hell freaking yes for me.
Robert, what do you say about J.K. Simmons?
Retweet everything Caleb just said. Yeah, absolutely. He is the standout of the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy as far as an acting performance that matches what the character needed perfectly. You want to talk about iconic? 100%. Absolutely, yes.
And Zach, what would you have said about J.K. Simmons?
Yeah, he didn't make my short list because I just forgot. He's too far down the IMDb scrolling page. That didn't remind myself in my research process. But he is one of those just like perfect casting things. There's some great performances that you would not expect. Like Heath Ledger as the Joker, not someone wanted, but he comes out and delivers something great. This is like what everybody wanted. It's perfect casting. He was like born for this role to where, the fans aren't able to let him go because it's hard to find anyone that fits it more. And he definitely fits into that same Raimi style, which I would argue is by far the most comic booky of the Spider-Man trilogies and series. And he definitely has that comic book kind of campiness to throw out there. That's great. So he would have been a yes.
Anyway, Doug, it circles back round to you.
All right, cool. So I'm going outside the realm of all the normal comic books. And I'm going with Chloe Grace Moretz as Mindy / Hit Girl for Kick-Ass 1 and 2. Her performance alone is the reason that you go back to Kick-Ass 2 because of that first movie. I think she, as a kid, just had this ability to draw you in and just laugh and be like completely mortified that a kid could do the things that she was doing. But yeah, I love X-Men, I love Spider-Man, but I think that there's more to the Marvel world than those comic books.
Caleb, what do you say about Chloe Grace Moretz?
I'm gonna have to give this one personally a slight no. I think there's a better performance in the world of Kick-Ass that should go on the list. And I think overall there's better performances throughout the Marvel pantheon to fit onto the top 12.
Robert, what do you say about Chloe Grace Moretz?
Yeah, I don't like that I'm agreeing with Caleb so much today. It's not a usual, but I agree. I think what stands out about Minnie McCready in the Kick-Ass movies is the action sequences, and I don't think that's necessarily like the best showcase of her acting ability. When she has her small moments, especially in Kick-Ass 2 with Dave, those are really, really good moments, but I think there are one, maybe two performances from the Kick-Ass series that are better, that have had a longer lasting like acting performance impact on me personally. It was definitely on my side list when I like made my first initial list of like, here's all the ones that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. It was there, but I did have to cut it out of my top 12, so it's a no for me as well.
Zach, what do you say about Chloe Grace Moretz?
You're all crazy. A 10-year-old girl is swearing and murdering people and blood everywhere. It's so shocking and amazing. It's all I've ever wanted to see. A 10-year-old being like a adult. It's a piece of shit. It's Mark Millar gone wrong. Wait till we get to my Deadpool thing, but shock for shock's sake. Who would have known the little girl next door would be so crazy? And that's the result. And I think that takes over the performance is people's more shock of the character. But it doesn't work for me. I think it's a humor that I'll be nice and say is above me. Not that I'm above the humor, even though the truth is I'm smarter than the humor of Kick-Ass.
So was that a yes or no?
It's a no!
Yeah, I just thought I'd check that. But yeah, I actually probably would have given Chloe Grace Moretz a yes, because I mean, like, she is my favorite part of Kick-Ass, and just one that I do really enjoy from the movies. But with that, she doesn't make the list anyway. Caleb, it's back to your next nomination.
I think it's time to live up to my name and delve into the world of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I think the best performance in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and maybe the best performance of the character of Spider-Man outside of the MCU, maybe the most human version of the character we've ever gotten, is Jake Johnson's portrayal of Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. I think Peter B. Parker is the most human version of the character of Peter Parker throughout all of them. Like, whenever you see him, he's quippy, he's fun. And this Spider-Man is more real. He's seen some shit. He lost MJ. He's gone through a lot. And Jake Johnson captures that all with just his voice, which I think is really impressive. So yeah, I am putting Jake Johnson's Peter B. Parker on the board.
Robert, what do you say about Jake Johnson?
You need to start having hotter takes, Caleb, because I don't like agreeing with you this much. It makes me uncomfortable. But yes, Jake Johnson, he's absolutely right. The most human version of the character of Peter Parker we've ever seen. One of the best written characters in Spider-Verse, probably the best written character in Spider-Verse. When he's talking to Miles about taking the leap of faith, that scene is just beautiful. And yeah, you really understand through the vocal work that Jake Johnson does everything that this character has gone through. When he's doing his whole like, let's do this one last time, and he's talking about how him and MJ split up, and he's talking about having to bury Aunt May, like that is all just really heart-wrenching stuff, and it all comes through with Jake Johnson's performance. So yeah.
Zach, what do you say about Jake Johnson from Spider-Verse?
Yeah, this was actually on my short list for best supporting performances of last year. I loved it so much. It's something I didn't know I needed until I saw it. He was the standout, even amongst like these comedic stalwarts that were included in the film as well, which I would also say yes to. But Jake Johnson blended the comedy with kind of the melancholy of a tired, exhausted Spider-Man. That once again didn't know I needed in my life, but it was great. So I'm a yes.
And with that, Jake Johnson does make the list. I probably would have given it a slight no, just because like Jake Johnson is a great performance in Spider-Verse. There's a few others that I enjoy better than him, but he does make the list. Doug, what would you have said about Jake Johnson?
From his first time that he comes on screen, when he becomes Peter B. Parker, it makes you connect with that character right away. It could be the guy next door, the Joe Schmo that you meet down the street. So yeah, that's a yes for me.
But we go back to Robert. Robert, who's your next nomination?
Okay, so how many spots do we have on? 5, right?
5.
4, 4, 5, 5.
5 spots been taken up.
All right,
One.
so we gotta go into the X-Men universe at least one more time, and I'm gonna go with Michael Fassbender. It's weird that we haven't brought him up yet, but if we're talking about best performances by a villain in a Marvel movie, this is number 1 for me. He toes the line of hero villain much better than Ian McKellen. I love Ian McKellen, obviously. I love his performance of Magneto, but I think it is a little bit like mustache twirling villain, like a little bit too much cheese, especially in that first one when he like kidnaps Rogue and stuff. He's better in X2, but I think as far as the performance of the character, the younger version that Fassbender gives is the best. Zach was talking about it earlier, how he just walks through everybody in the movies he's in. You see his relationship with Xavier in First Class when they're recruiting everybody. It's fantastic. His vengefulness against Sebastian Shaw. You want to look at in Days of Future Past when they're on the plane and he's listing off all of these mutants who were killed. He's just like Angel and Havoc and blah, 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 blah. Like, his emotion, his anger, stuff with his family in Apocalypse is so good. Michael Fassbender.
Michael Fassbender's on the table. Zach, what do you say about Michael Fassbender?
Michael Fassbender, near the end of the franchise, starts to be a little too on the angry side, but it's Michael Fassbender, and that's more of a script issue than a him issue because he still sells that anger, and it is props to him and once again McAvoy for being really the only two that in this franchise that you could see was leading to a dead end, did not give up. Like they were putting their full heart and soul into every scene they're in, even through Dark Phoenix. And so you have to appreciate that. And he's not just one of the best performances, but he's one of the best actors we have working today. And lucky to have them be comfortable enough with their career to want to be in a goofy superhero movie. So Michael Fassbender, for sure, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes to Michael Fassbender too. But he's definitely one that the only actor that I thought actually still gave a shit in Dark Phoenix. I actually thought McAvoy checked out a few times in that movie, but I'm going to give Fassbender a yes. Doug, what do you say? What would you have said about Michael Fassbender?
As one of the only saving graces of Apocalypse, that forest scene.
You mean the great movie X-Men Apocalypse?
Oh yes, that complete Oscar-worthy movie known as X-Men Apocalypse. The hauntingness, the vengefulness, the everything that you come to know as Magneto is all on display in that one scene. And Michael Fassbender, ever since he came in from First Class to Dark Phoenix, he has given it 110%, never phoned it in. Yeah, it's an easy yes for me.
And Caleb, what would you have said about Fassbender?
I can't add anything more than everyone else did. I think he's the best performance in the X-Men franchise on the villain standpoint. Maybe the best in a non-MCU Marvel role when it comes to villains. It's Michael Fassbender as Eric Lyncher. So yeah.
And fancy calling him Eric and not Magneto.
Technically, what he's credited as. So.
Zach, it's back to you.
Yo. So I'm mainly picking this one off my list just so I can seem like a hypocritical asshole. Because I'm going with a violent, mature 8-year-old performance that has more emotional richness and depth than I think Chloe Grace Moretz was ever, and that's Daphne Keane, who was just in Logan, but is such a great standout. Someone who can someone who can stand side by side with Hugh Jackman and control the screen just as much, and really control our hearts. I think she almost is carries more of the emotional baggage. I mean, they all do, but hers really kind of grabs my heart, maybe my natural sympathy towards kids, but she also doesn't speak very much, and when she does, it's in Spanish. So just relying a lot on her physical presence, which once again for a scrawny little kid is amazing how much she's actually able to take up the space with her presence. So Daphne Keane is my choice. Bring on the X-23 movie, please.
Yeah, no, Daphne Keen's an easy yes for me. Like I had her on my list. So like just because she was only Logan doesn't hurt her in any way. Like she's shown that in one movie she can put on a kick-ass performance. And just be really great. Doug, what do you say about Daphne Keane?
This is 110% easy yes for me. The scene where she's basically holding Logan at the end when he dies kills me every time. I've seen that movie in black and white, and it kills me worse. If that's possible. Yeah, it's an easy yes for me.
Caleb, what would you have said about Daphne Keane?
I didn't have Daphne Keane on my list. But yeah, she's good. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. She made the list. But yeah, she's good.
Robert, what would you have said about Daphne Keane?
I also would have said no. This is my number 13, literally the one that I cut last from my short list. So I would have had to say no. I think that there are others that are a little bit better acting performances. Like everything that you said is true, and I absolutely love her in Logan. And every scene that she's in, she is incredible, just standing up against Jackman and Stewart, and she's like probably just as good as them. It just doesn't gravitate to me quite as much as some of the others that I had on my list.
For my next nomination, I'm going to go with someone who I know Zach loves really so much. I'm going to go for Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Ryan Reynolds has shown that you can bring he's a great comedic actor. Is like he took Deadpool and just ran with it and like did it in a way that despite his performance in X-Men Origins Wolverine when they shut him up, he still got his own movie out of it, which took the character and made it his own. And now whenever anyone's talking about sort of Deadpool in the MCU, people just want Ryan Reynolds back. They don't want someone else trying to be Deadpool. But Doug, what do you say about Ryan Reynolds?
This is pretty much an easy yes for me. I mean, Ryan Reynolds, the only person on Earth who can regenerate a career and character by leaking it. Yeah, it's an easy yes.
Caleb, what do you say about Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool?
It's an easy yes for me too. I think he's really funny, but he's also got a lot of heart and a lot of wit and charm about him in those two movies alone. He kind of exudes this, I guess, immature charisma. But in Deadpool 2, he shows a bit more of a dramatic turn when he loses Vanessa. And then in the first one, when we're first introduced to him, it's mile a minute, not even like dumb jokes. Like there's some really intelligent, fun references in there and jokes like that. So yeah, I'm going with Deadpool.
Robert, what would you have said about Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, this is interesting. I don't like Deadpool 2 that much. I think that it's like a lot of rehashing, and I liked it when I saw it in theaters, but on rewatching, I don't think the jokes are that funny, and it's way longer than it needs to be. But the first Deadpool is really great, and Ryan Reynolds is really great in it, so I would also have to say yes.
Zach, what would you have said about Deadpool?
Unfortunately, I'm 1 month into being a father. I'm way too exhausted to give the enthusiastic, passionate hate speech. If you care to see it, you can watch one of basically any Chance's top 5 shows. It probably didn't even have to deal with Ryan Reynolds. I probably went on a Deadpool rant. Anyways, so you can find that. But also having a child made me realize I wish I could live in a world that expects better from our humor. My kid can actually enjoy a laugh without just thinking penis jokes and fuck jokes in a superhero movie nonstop. It's funny. The fact that Caleb called them intelligent jokes makes me very concerned about the education that he received growing up. and I this is something new I had to have to offer new thought is Deadpool in a way is not the most accurate to a comic book feel, but like a Sunday comic strip feel. Like imagine a Garfield strip. Instead, just like making fuck jokes nonstop, and they just keep playing consecutive scripts like punchline joke in the Garfield level of humor, and it's fucking annoying as hell. Except Garfield is what taught me to read, so thank you for that. Deadpool, you taught me nothing. You taught me how to hate.
Anyway, there's 4 spots remaining, and it's back to Doug for his next nomination.
All right. Side note, fuck that whole rant because Deadpool is completely accurate to his comic book. Considering I've read every single comic book that Deadpool's ever been printed on. So
I will argue that I think it's a little more paced out because I've read the Deadpool comics too.
It's very much his humor, 110%. Ryan Reynolds was born to play him. I'm going to my pick, and I'm going to keep beating the fucking horse in the face until it finally lets me get somebody on the list besides X-Men and Spider-Man. As much as I love those guys. I'm going to go Taron Egerton as Eggsy. I think Kingsman 1 was an amazing movie. No one saw it coming. And one of the best performances in that movie was Taron Egerton. I honestly don't know where else to fight for this because the comedy was on point. It was a spy movie without being a traditional spy movie. And it was just... the scene where he thinks he has to kill the puppy just adds a bunch of heart to it. I mean, he just can't do it. I'm going to go Taron Egerton. I'm going to try and get one on the list, hopefully.
Caleb, what do you say about Taron Egerton as Eggsy?
I would say absolutely. I think he is very good in his performance in the first one. And even though it gets a little ham-fisted in the second one, I think we need to have bottom feeders anyway. And I think this is a good pick for the lower part of the list. Gives some variety. So, yeah.
Robert, what do you say about Taron Egerton?
Yeah, I like Golden Circle more than most people. I understand the gripes with it. I really, really do. I just have a lot of fun watching that movie. And part of that is Taron Egerton. He's incredible in the first one. And then, this is an ensemble series. It is really hard to pick just one because I probably have 2 or 3 more on my side list on honorable mentions. But Taron Egerton was the one that I wanted to bring up from this franchise. His friendship with Roxy in the second one, his whole relationship, how he reacts with the Princess Tilde, just everything about this character. He has this hard, tough out exterior, but also at his center, he still wants to do good things, and that's a take on a sort of spy, beaten down character that we don't get a whole ton. So yeah.
And with that, Taron Egerton does make the list. Zach, what would you have said about Taron Egerton?
I keep getting real thrown off because I forget that these Millar World comics used to be Marvel because I'm so used to them being Image now. But I don't like the Kingsman movies really at all. But it's not really anything to do with the performances. It's really just some of the Mark Millar-esque aspects to it really make it kind of a tonal shithole. It kind of goes all over the place. I need to rewatch the first one because I really was, like many people, tainted by one bad joke, which is unfair, but the anal joke just completely left me on a sour note. But Taron Egerton is not to blame for it. I think he was really good and someone new to see, and showed that he had a career for us to look forward to, which he has built on that promise. So I would have probably said yes, he was not on my list because I'm not like Robert and I'm flexible. I can build off of my list of 12. That's what makes me a better human being.
Yeah, that's true. You're above me.
Yeah, I mean, I would have easily said yes to Taron Egerton. He was on my list as well. He's probably my favorite person in the Kingsman series. But yeah, with that, we go back to Caleb.
Okie dokie. Well, we're gonna go back to Spider-Man. I'm gonna get on my soapbox, and this is where I die. I like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. That does include 2. I like Amazing Spider-Man 2. There is one performance in both of those movies that I think is exceptional. that I think should be on the top 12, and that's Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. I think she is the best love interest in any Spider-Man movie, pretty easily. I think she is very smart. She goes toe to toe with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and their chemistry is electric. I think she's the better of those two performances throughout the two, and her death in the second movie is so emotional. It's one of the most heartbreaking moments in a Spider-Man movie for me. So yes, I am putting up Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy.
Robert, what do you say about Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy?
How many spots do we have left? 2?
3.
Okay. This is on my list towards the bottom. I am gonna say yes. I think that Caleb is right when he says that this movie, the two movies are really like. I don't like either of these movies, but the parts of them that I do like are the dynamic between Gwen and Peter. And I think that is because of Emma Stone as Gwen. I don't think Garfield is a good Peter at all. I think he's way too angsty and hip and skateboardy, and that's not really a good Peter Parker take for me. And part of that's the screenwriters too, but I think that the dynamic and how Emma Stone really plays off of Andrew Garfield, like the scene when they're around the dinner table in Amazing Spider-Man, or when she's patching him up and calls him Bug Boy, she really does give us the best parts of both of these movies. So although I do not like either of these movies, and I despise Amazing Spider-Man 2 more than I despise almost any film, I have to say it.
Zach, what do you say about Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy?
I hate Amazing Spider-Man 2 almost as much as Robert, if not as much. It's a shit movie. Amazing Spider-Man 1, I need to rewatch. It really unfairly got bogged down by it being an origin story and it being too soon. I feel like if they tried to tell a different story, there was a good movie there. So maybe with some time now, I can see it with a different eyes. But Emma Stone was my 13th on my list, which once again I said I'm very flexible to go off my list. We are getting narrowed down, but it's Emma Stone. She brings the charm that she brings to every movie, and she is what keeps that watchable. And I take any chemistry that she has with Andrew Garfield is because Emma Stone can make chemistry with anybody. So I would say yes.
And with that, Emma Stone does make the list. I would have also said yes. I don't like the second Amazing Spider-Man, but I do think it's better than Spider-Man 3. But
it's the best music score from any Spider-Man movie.
I agree with that.
I am just joking. I don't believe that at all.
You are insane.
But
the theme for Spider-Man in that movie.
I'd say that I do think the first Amazing Spider-Man is very underrated. Not many people talk about it as much as they should. It's honestly really good, and it's not as bad as everyone claims it to be. Doug, what would you have said about Emma Stone?
It's Emma Stone. Obviously, I'm going to say yes because pretty much she brings just talent to whatever role she takes. Usually, I'll give her 85% of the time. But one thing I argue against Caleb is that is not the most heart-wrenching thing that you get to see in a Spider-Man movie. No, when they brought Venom, that was the most heart-wrenching thing that you get to see in a Spider-Man movie. But yeah, Emma Stone's cool. Just making jokes. Sorry, they're shitty.
But Robert, it's back to you for your next nomination.
All right. So here's what we got left. All right. Let's talk about it. Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. Caleb Coho is a crazy person and doesn't think Spider-Man 2 is a good movie. But we'll ignore that, and we will talk about how Alfred Molina as Doc Ock is arguably the best performed villain in a comic book movie ever. It's in the top 3, maybe top 5, maybe number 1. Because Doc Ock is an incredible character. Before he even gets the arms, before he becomes a villain, you see how much he really does care about Peter. You see his relationship with his wife Rosalie is beautiful. And then after his accident, accident. He really is just taken over by this AI, and you see there's just something in his eyes every time you see him on screen where it's like his brain is still fighting against it, and then you get the redemption of this character at the end. He realizes his mistakes, and when he's talking about drowning in the river and how it has to be him, he's got to pay for these mistakes. He owns up to it. That is an incredible lesson. It's an incredible character, and it's a great performance. Doc Ock, easily best Spider-Man villain, probably best Spider-Man villain, and maybe best comic book villain. This is an incredible performance, and it needs to be on this list.
Zach, what do you say about Alfred Molina?
Yeah, it was my next to bring up anyway, so Robert saved me a pick. But just like the people we talked about in the original X-Men series, he really brought a well-needed kind of grounding and seriousness to the Spider-Man movies, which I think are extremely silly and comic booky. But he brings so much emotional depth that's hard to bring in that kind of setting. And if you think I am wrong, I am right. I swear I'm right. I swear I knew it all along. Dashboard will live forever in my teenage dreams. Vindicated, I am strong. Okay, next. Yes.
It's quite funny because Alfred Molina was the next one I was going to bring up, so it's an easy yes for me as well. There's nothing more to say about that. Doug, what would you have said about Alfred Molina?
The next two that I was going to bring up were villains in the Spider-Man world. So to have one of them on the list, that'll be great. Alfred Molina, it's just an incredible performance. It's one that you didn't really see coming until you were in the movie theater. He brings one of my favorite versions of Doc Ock, which is Peter's mentor, before he becomes Doc Ock, and it's just an incredible performance. He did a really great job in it. Yeah.
And he just like exudes the intelligence that is needed in that character.
Yeah, exactly.
And Caleb, what would you have said about Doc Ock?
I need to come to my own defense here. Spider-Man 2 is not a bad movie. It's not. It's a little overrated, but it is because all the Raimi movies are.
I would actually agree it's a little overrated.
But it is a very good movie, and Alfred Molina is the best part of that really good movie. I would have said yes. And best comic book movie villain of all time? Yeah, no. But top 10 for sure. He is fantastic. He just exudes everything that he needs to coming through as Otto Octavius. So yeah.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were such a fan of Darren Cross.
I hate Darren Cross. You know that I like got him. You know Ant-Man's my second least favorite MCU movie, right?
Yeah, and Far From Home is your second favorite. You're crazy. Let's move on.
Far From Home is the best live-action Spider-Man. Anyway.
I mean, let's get it right. Caleb probably really likes Toby Kebbell as Doctor Doom.
Hey, in the first, Toby Kebbell as Victor Von Doom before the 1 year later, he's actually real decent in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
He makes that first half watchable.
But anyway, Zach, there's one spot remaining. Can you fill the last spot?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the other Spider-Man villain that does not bring the emotional grounding that Molina does, but just like extreme craziness, and that's Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe just like Dafoeing it out. Big performances are not always my thing, but this I think fit what Raimi was going for and just made it extremely fun. Willem Dafoe's eyes could have just been the only thing acting in that movie. That would have been enough to excite me. He doesn't need the rest of his body and face. His eyes are fucking crazy. Willem Dafoe forever. And always think of the How I Met Your Mother joke. It's the best joke in the show. Willem Dafoe! I can't. So I just want him to do that in a movie. Floating eyes going, Willem Dafoe!
I'm actually going to say no to William Dafoe. Not because I don't think he's good. I think he's great. But I just rewatched the first Spider-Man yesterday, and I think that his performance isn't as good as I initially thought it was when I first saw it. It's still great, but I think it's just out of the top 12. Doug, what do you say about William Dafoe?
I say you're a little bit crazy because that was the next person I was going to bring up. Because the beginning, before he even gets Cox and where he automatically gives you the disapprovingness that he gives towards Harry and the utter "I want you as my son, Peter" moment, to the ending where he's getting pinned down by his glider and Peter, don't tell Harry. It basically crafts the entire rest of the saga trilogy. It's one of his greatest villains brought to life. And I know it's the last spot, but Willem Dafoe was made to play Green Goblin. He really was. He had it on both aspects: a brilliant scientist and a really whacked out Looney Tune of a person.
I thought the line was "Don't tell Peter," but
Oof. I was gonna say that middle
Oh,
finger to Kevin Smets
oh.
there, Doug. All right.
but
Listen, it wasn't a middle finger. It wasn't a middle finger. I like Smets. I have him in my fantasy league.
yeah, but Caleb, what do you say about William Dafoe?
You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. That is my favorite meme to come out of the original Spider-Man movie. Just a side note, but I love Willem Dafoe in this movie as Green Goblin. Like, the first two Raimi movies are like super cheesy, but they're good. Like, they're still good movies. Spider-Man has the second best rogues gallery of all time when it comes to comic books, just behind Batman. And Green Goblin is the top of that. And Willem Dafoe does do a really fun job of portraying that character. I will give it the yes, it needs to make the list because I do enjoy Dafoe as Green Goblin.
And Robert, what would you have said about Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, this one was just outside of my top 12, but I would have said yes. I rewatched the first Spider-Man today, and it's very cheese. Like the scene where he's talking to himself in the mirror, and when his heart, Osborn, like it is super cheese, but also it's real good. It's just I love watching it. It's just so entertaining. So yeah, absolutely.
It fits.
Yeah, it does fit with the tone of that movie perfectly.
100%.
Anyone would think you've got a Spider-Man match coming up, Robert.
Weird.
Yeah.
Almost like I'm gonna watch Spider-Man 2 after this is over.
But anyway, we get to the fun part of the ranking. But before that, we'll talk about honorable mentions. Doug, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I would have liked to been able to bring up Colin Firth as Harry, Mark Strong as not only Merlin but Frank D'Amico, Zazie Beetz as Domino, and I would have loved to have the chance to bring up Haley Steinfeld as Spider-Gwen because she was incredible in that role.
And Caleb, what Spider-Verse characters do you have as your honorable mentions?
I only actually have one, and it's Shamik Moore from Spider-Verse. Please and thank you. Also Nicolas Cage as Spider-Man Noir, but I also had Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy. I think that's the better performance from Kick-Ass that could have made the list. I also had Mark Strong as Merlin and Colin Firth as Harry. So yeah.
Robert, what honorable mentions did you have?
As always, I have a very large list of honorable mentions, and I'll run through them as quickly as possible. Nick Cage's Big Daddy, I think that is the standout performance from the Kick-Ass movies. Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, he encapsulates that character very well. Tommy Lee Jones as Agent K, specifically in the first Men in Black, he's very good in that role. I like Josh Brolin as Agent K as Men in Black 3 as well. Nicholas Hoult as Hank McCoy, specifically just for his stuff in Dark Phoenix, because I think he's really, really good in Dark Phoenix. Dominic West as Jigsaw in Punisher Warzone. People don't talk about Punisher Warzone enough. Let's talk about Punisher Warzone more. Both Michael Clark Duncan and Colin Farrell in Daredevil, because that movie isn't that bad, and they're both real good in it. Wayne Knight as Microchip, again from Punisher Warzone. Go watch Punisher Warzone. Michael Stuhlbarg as Griffin, which honestly, Caleb, we should have put that on the list.
Oh my God, Robert!
Stuhlbarg in Men in Black 3 is genuinely incredible. Shamik Moore, obviously. Mark Strong as Merlin. I actually really like Tom Jane's Punisher, so I had that on honorable mentions too. Tom Hardy in the first half of Venom. Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw. Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron. Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, because I hate Van Forsdyke, but he's real good in it. And then Martin Sheen and Sally Field as Aunt May and Uncle Ben. I think they're really good. And also Haley Steinfeld as one. Sorry, that was a really long list. I always do that.
Fuck, I forgot about Michael Stuhlbarg. I'm so
We should have
upset
put
at
Michael
myself.
Stuhlbarg on this
I'm
list.
so
too.
upset at myself.
It's when Robert was going through the list, I was just thinking we missed the opportunity to get two actors on for different roles because we could have had double Nick Cage for both Spider-Verse and
Yeah,
I would have
and
picked one or the other,
Roland,
and I would have picked
I
one or
would've
the
taken-
other, and I probably would have gone with Big Daddy.
Yeah, me too.
but Zach, what mentions do you have?
If I took more time to actually prepare my list, I would have said any of the main agents from Men in Black because I love all three of the first Men in Black movies. But Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and Josh Brolin, I think, all belong on this 12 by themselves. That's like pure 90s Will Smith doing his thing, and it's great. But Ian McKellen, for sure, was my next. I just thought we got a little heavy on X-Men. Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man. Still, I think he sells the awkwardness more than any of the other Peter Parkers have. John Mulaney's just John Mulaney, and I want him in all voice acting movies. His like cadence and just like vocal timing is just perfect. And Spider-Ham's a fucking great character. Ryan Permison, Spider-Ham's
We
great.
should just at Ryan Permison.
Yeah, Ryan Purvis. Watch Spider-Verse already.
Just the Spider-Ham parts. I'm gonna make a verse cut where it's just the Spider-Ham things and try to sell that to Ryan as the actual movie.
Spider-Ham cut. I love it.
But anyway,
yeah, Anna Paquin also. I adore the first X-Men movie. I was 11 when it came out, so it's probably some bias, but I have seen it many times since. But I think her chemistry with Hugh Jackman sells that movie, and why that X-Men movie is my favorite because that relationship to me is like kind of subtly beautiful, and she was a great actress once. She's kind of faded away. And then Evan Peters, more how that character's treated than maybe his performance, but it's tons of fun. So.
I mean, it would have been even more biased on my part if I brought up Anna Paquin, but like for my other mentions, I had Ian McKellen as Magneto. I had Rebecca Romaine Stamos as Mystique. I also had Anna Paquin on my list. I had Ben Affleck as Daredevil. Even though the movie itself isn't great, I do think Ben Affleck shines in that. I had Sam Elliott as General Ross. I had Jennifer Connelly as Betty Ross. Michael Chiklis as The Thing is pretty good. I also had Josh Brolin as Cable, and I had Will Smith as Agent J. But anyway, now we get to the fun part of actually ranking this list. And so, Doug, who do you want for number 12?
JK.
Caleb, who do you have for 12?
Sorry, I didn't have it written down, but Tiffo.
Robert, who do you have for 12?
Daphne Keane.
Zach, who do you want for 12?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say because I lost my marker, but it's obvious. It's fucking Ryan Reynolds.
I also had William Dafoe, so William Dafoe is 12.
I'm gonna be honest. I forgot Daphne Keane was on this list.
Well, maybe if you hit the little chat button, it's in the left-hand side of your screen, and you can look and see that.
Thank you.
Word, just took notes.
I did take notes, but I didn't look at that part before I voted.
I'm going to go first on this one. I've got Daphne Keane. Zach, who do you want for 11?
Still Ryan Reynolds.
Robert, who do you want for 11?
Still Daphne Keane.
Jacob, Caleb.
Daphne Keane.
Well, refuse I did to Jay, but I saw the Jay for some reason wanted to say Jacob, but it's a matter. Doug,
Daphne Keane.
So freaking...
She's
I
my
didn't know that
number
was
3,
still signed
guys.
in.
She's my number 3. My list is fucked.
Oh, this is tough.
think this is a good spot.
All right.
Doug, who do you have for 10?
Emma Stone.
Caleb, who do you have for 10?
I had Taron Egerton as Exy.
What about who do you have for 10?
I also had Taron Egerton.
Zach, you're sticking with Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, I could play more strategic because I know I'm just going to have this up for like 10 rounds. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I put J.K. Simmons, but Taron Egerton is going to be 10.
I kind of love that we're gonna have probably 4 out of our top 5 be X-Men.
Maybe.
I mean, they took over a huge part of the list, so
For good reason.
Yeah, I mean that and Spider-Man. But yeah, I'm sticking with J.K. Simmons for 9. Zach, you are staying with Ryan Reynolds, obviously. Robert,
Emma Stone.
Caleb,
J.K. Simmons.
Doug.
JK.
Why'd you change your answer?
Because
Me?
I forgot that
Remember, he thinks
Yeah,
it's the worst part of Raimi's trilogy.
My normal rule is that means you should never be allowed on the show again. Just understand how things work.
Although to be fair, he did say J.K. Simmons at the first, and he changed it after that.
because I knew I wasn't going to get him that low. So I was like, all right, I'll take it when I can get it when I see other people put them up. So I know how the game works.
I think this is a good spot for him. Doug, who do you want for 8?
And I went back with Emma Stone.
Caleb,
Patrick Stewart.
Oof.
Robert,
Emma Stone.
Zach, you're staying with Ryan Reynolds.
Always and forever.
And I went with Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
So,
It doesn't matter. I know where Zach's going.
Zach, Patrick Stewart, or Emma Stone at 8?
Emma Stone. It's not even a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I'm going to start off on this. I'm going to go Patrick Stewart. Zach is Ryan Reynolds. Robert,
Ryan Reynolds.
Caleb,
Patrick Stewart.
Doug.
I went Jack Johnson.
So Doug, Patrick Stewart or Ryan Reynolds?
You guys fucking suck.
The acting performance.
Yeah, he's gonna go with Patrick Stewart.
I'm going. I'm gonna put. I'll put Ryan Reynolds in 7.
Damn it. Robbie fucking influenced him, man. Come on.
Have you been on the show before? This is
Now
what
I
you
gotta
do.
figure out who. I gotta to figure out who's left. I was not paying that much attention. Now I actually have to try.
So we have Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Jack Johnson, Michael Fassbender, and Alfred Molina.
And Patrick Stewart is still there.
And Patrick Stewart, sorry.
What am I missing? Oh, I got it.
But Doug, who do you want?
I went Patrick Stewart.
Caleb, who do you want for 6?
Patrick Stewart still.
Robert,
Alfred Molina.
Whoa.
Zach, who do you want for 6?
Michael F. Fassbender.
Whoa.
Whoa.
And,
I said that about Stewart. He's my number 2, you assholes.
but yeah, your number 2 is going to be number 6. So because I've also read Patrick Stewart.
Good, I can just rely on showing the same thing again.
But yeah, just to recap, we've got Hugh Jackman, James McAvoy, Jake Johnson, Fassbender, and Alfred Molina. But I'm going to go first, and I've actually put Jake Johnson at 5. Zach, who do you want for 5?
Michael F. Fassbender.
Robert, who do you have for 5?
Alfred Molina still.
Caleb, who do you have for 5?
Alfred Molina.
And Doug,
Jake Johnson.
So Zach, Jake Johnson or Alfred Molina at 5?
Alfred Molina.
Yes, that.
Oh, I don't know.
But Doug, who do you want for 4?
Jake Johnson.
And Caleb, who do you have for 4?
Pour one out. I said Jake Johnson.
Robert, who do you have for 4?
Fassbender.
Whoa.
Zach, who do you have for 4?
Fassbender.
So it's down to me to break the tie. And I've got Jake Johnson.
Fuck.
I could
That's
have put
fair.
Fassbender. I didn't think it was going to work if I said Fassbender.
Dream in.
Damn it.
So top 3 are all X-Men.
Sounds about right. By the way, Doug, I think you thought I was being sarcastic. I truly love Apocalypse.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good.
Me and Malcolm stand for Apocalypse. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it way more than people give it credit for.
I like.
We stand against a whole lot of movies that other people don't like, but we also like Pan and Fantastic Beasts too. So
From the ashes of the world,
BFG.
we'll build a better one.
but anyway,
Everybody-
at 3, I've got James McAvoy. Zach, who do you have for 3?
Mr. Fassbender.
Rob, who do you have for 3?
Mikey Fassbender.
Caleb
Michael Fassbender.
and Doug.
Yeah, I went James McAvoy because I
You're high.
think Michael Fassbender's a better actor than him in these roles. Let me correct myself. Sorry, in these roles.
Mikey Fassbender sounds like a backyard baseball character.
That's true.
Hey, it's Mikey Fassbender.
Yeah,
Great third baseman.
I mean, it's like with Michael Fassbender, I think he's the only one that out of the two that really gave it his all in all the movies. But this time, instead of doing number 2, we're going to do our number 1. So,
I mean, this should be like an all-out clean sweep. But
unless there's someone that wants to be a hipster.
I mean,
but Doug, who do you have?
for number 1, Hugh Jackman, obviously.
Caleb?
It's hip to be square. James McAvoy.
Robert?
James McAvoy.
Let's go!
Zach?
Huge jacked man.
Fuck.
And yeah, I've got Hugh Jackman.
Come
guys are
on.
crazy.
Damn it.
I'm pretty sure we probably would have had a riot if Jackman won.
We tried, Caleb.
I know.
We should have written in Stuhlbarg.
We should have put in Michael Stuhlbarg as number one. Damn it.
I'm sad about the Men in Black exclusion now. I wish I was smarter.
I'm so mad. I totally forgot about Michael Stuhlbarg.
But that would not have been my choice of Men in Black character.
Okay, but if you watch that scene at the baseball diamond in Men in Black 3, it's legitimately one of the best scenes in a comic book movie.
I've only
Is
seen
genuinely that is top 10 comic book movie scenes. 100%. My
I need to
favorite
rewatch
moment
it.
in human history. That scene is
Favorite move
incredible.
human history.
That's what, yeah, because he's talking about like if you pull off deploying the ArcNet or whatever, like this will be my new favorite moment in human history. Oh, that scene is so good.
Zadia Smith says in the chat, Coho and Robert are trying to break the system.
We tried.
Break your own chains.
But anyway, we're coming to end. It's time to recap our top 12. At number 12, we've got Willem Dafoe with the Green Goblin. At number 11, we've got Daphne Keane as X-23. At 10, we've got Taron Egerton as Eggsy. At 9, we've got J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. At 8, we've got Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy. At 7, we've got Deadpool as Ryan Reynolds. At 6, we've got Patrick Stewart as Professor X. At 5, we've got Alpha Molina as Doc Ock. At 4, we've got Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parking. At 3, we've got Michael Fassbender as Professor X. As Magneto, I don't know why I wrote Professor X. But at 2, we've got James McAvoy as Professor X. At 1, we've got Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. But all in all, it is a pretty good list. But Doug, where can people find you online?
Normal places, trivia leagues, and the debate leagues. So, pretty simple.
Caleb, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Caleb Coho. That's Caleb with a K and then KOHO. I'm over on Multiplex Entertainment. I run Fandom Fights over there with Kane McMillan and Tim Bracala. Basically, if you want to see me, I live on Multiplex. So.
And Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at RBRTPRKR98. That's my first and last name, Navals plus year. And you can find me all over the trivia leagues: Full Metal Geek Champion, Phantom Fight Singles Champion, Phantom Fight Season Champion, and of course this Tuesday in a Spider-Man Full Metal Random match that Jake and I and Cody are going to go toe to toe, and that's going to be really fun and really interesting to see what comes out of that one.
Zach, where can people find you online?
Find me on Letterboxd, maybe just my name. I'm not sure. Zach Ford or like Z Ford 14. Just look for this sexy face. And please, like my Fern Gully review. It doesn't fucking die. I get a Fern Gully like every week. People love my Fern Gully review. It's not even good. It just constantly getting likes. And now I just want to build it to where it's like the most popular review on Letterboxd because it'll be funny to me. So like my Fern Gully review, and watch Fern Gully. It's worth a rewatch. Super. There's mullets and booyahs. It's fair 90s. Otherwise, anything anybody invites me to, that's where you can find me. Or just come and hang out, have a beer, and babysit my child while I go for a run, please.
And you can find me on Take 3 hosting Rankum every Sunday night. I'll have a poll up in the on the Facebook page with the topics I've got picked for next week, and whichever one wins is the one we'll be doing. And you can also find me hosting the Full Metal Random match that's happening on Tuesday. And you can find me all over various trivia debate leagues. There's just so many. I've got so many hands and so many pies at the moment that
Gross.
That'll be a very Nico length plug. And you can also find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Melkor. And until next week, keep listing shit.